Welcome to the Candle Business Coach Podcast, a show about the craft of candle making and small business. I'm your host, Kirsty Allen, and I'm a candle maker, mum of three, and kindness advocator. Join me as I dive into all things candles and small business and deliver advice and tips to you in episodes every Tuesday and Friday. Are you on the list to get my daily motivation emails? Every day I'll send you a message that is designed to help keep you focused on taking action toward your goals. Sign up using the link in the show notes. This episode is brought to you by my free ebook, The Candle Business Marketing Kickstarter Kit. Inside this free ebook, you'll learn to identify your blocks of time to dedicate to your candle business. Plus, there are several tips and tricks for re-engaging past customers and attracting new customers into your business so you can grow your business and reach your goals. Check out the link in the show notes for your copy. Welcome back to the podcast, my friend. Today we have a very lovely guest with us. She is one of my Candlecraft students. She is an ex-Olympian and she's just an all-around amazing person. So I would love to introduce you to Debbi from Lane 3 Designs. Debbi, would you like to introduce yourself to the listeners?
Sure. She said I'm Debbi. I've been making candles for probably about a year and a half now, so I'm still relatively new to the whole business side of candles, which is good. That's still exciting. I am also a remedial and sports massage therapist, which is my main job at the moment. And as you said, yes, I'm an Olympian from a while ago, so I competed at the Sydney Olympics. Feels like a lifetime ago.
Yes, definitely. Considering we're in 2023 now and how fast time just goes by.
Yeah, I know.
So tell us a little bit about your business, Lane 3 Designs. Where did the name come from and what does it mean to you?
So the name Lane 3 Designs has actually come from my sporting background, and Lane 3 was the lane that I raced in at the Olympics. And the idea behind it was not necessarily the result, so being at the Olympics, but it was more representative of the journey to get there. So all the hard work, the sacrifices, the training sessions, the years, the time put into getting to that end goal, I sort of wanted to bring into my business. So I think that's where the name came from. The name did actually come about before I decided to do candles itself. I knew I wanted to create a business, a creative business. I've always been a creative person. And so it just sort of eventually came on and decided that candles was actually where I wanted to go.
I love that. But why candles? Out of all the different paths to take, what was it about candles that drew you in?
Well, interestingly, I've attempted to get into candles before, many years ago, I think before I had my kids. And I was looking at the hand dipped, like the dipped candles, and the time in the process, it wasn't the right time for me, which I am a firm believer of things happening for a reason when they're supposed to happen. And it didn't happen then. And then back in 2021, I went to the Tokyo Olympics as a massage therapist. And I came back and we were in hotel quarantine for 2 weeks, which was horrible. I know many people did it a number of times, and so it wasn't fun. And I just remember leaving and thinking, I just really could have used a candle, something that smelled nice. And I came back and my kids were still homeschooling. And so I couldn't return to work because they were still young enough at the time that I couldn't leave them at home. And so I joined up and did an online class and sort of went from there.
I love that it has such a special meaning for you and it's so consistent with your journey through life and how important it is to have a creative outlet, but do something that feels in alignment with your values as opposed to just picking anything and hoping for the best. It's about following your path and knowing what's important to you and what value you want to bring to the market as well. So I love that so much. Did you want to tell us, and I'd love to know more about your Olympic journey. How did it all begin? What inspired you to become an Olympian and everything to do with that?
So as a teenager, I did a lot of, as a kid, I did a lot of different sports. And I get to a point where I'd have to quit one to do another. And I sort of just, fell into it. I did athletics or little athletics from probably about the age of 10. And it just, I was okay. I did all right. And then I'd sort of go to that next level and then sort of go to that next level. So I'd compete at like a zone or like up to state. And I got asked when I was 15, I think, I was asked to go to a hurdles training camp. And so I went along to that, and the coach from that camp offered to coach me in hurdles. And I hadn't really thought about hurdles specifically, or I wasn't sort of that kid that decided I'm going to be an Olympian. That's where I'm going to go. It just sort of went one step to another. And so I started coaching. I started training for hurdles because I thought, oh, this is fun. And it sort of went from there. And then I would just sort of set a goal, and I'd sort of hit that goal, and just then, the next step is that next level. So probably even up until even sort of through most of my teens, I don't think I'd sat down and said, I want to be an Olympian. It was something that I enjoyed doing and seemed to be quite good at it. And then it just sort of went from there.
Yeah. It's so interesting hearing your journey, because like I know people that have such big dreams and such big aspirations, and they're consistently working towards that.
Mm-hmm.
But for you, it was a little bit different. It was more about just focus on that next step, enjoy the process, and then, this is another door that's opened up, another opportunity.
Exactly.
And it became this huge achievement, this huge goal that you were able to achieve. But it wasn't that you necessarily set out to achieve great things. You just were doing what felt right for you, and it led you into this amazing life.
Yeah. I quit athletics when I was 17. My coach passed away, and I was absolutely devastated. I was in the middle of my year 12, and everything just sort of derailed. And that was the year I was potential for World Juniors. That didn't happen. My HSC didn't go so well, and it just fell apart. But I missed it, and so I only ended up being a couple of months. But I returned to it, and then within, I think, 2 years, I qualified for Commonwealth Games, and I think I was 19 at the time.
Wow.
And so then went to the Commonwealth Games, and then 2 years after that, I qualified for the Olympics. So I was 21 when I qualified for the Olympics.
That's incredible. And how did that feel? What was that like for you? Did you get a call or an email, or did someone visit and say, yes, you're going to the Olympics? Like, how does it work?
There was a trials. So about a month before the games themselves, there was the Olympic trials in the stadium in Sydney. So it was really, really cool. And so for myself, like, there was multiple ways of qualifying. It's different to what it is now, but there was set standards, like an A qualifying standard, B qualifying standard. And it was sort of a little bit tricky, but if you had an A qualifying standard, that was almost more of an automatic, and up to 3 athletes would go. But if you only had a B, which I only had a B qualifier, they would only take 1. So if you had 3 athletes, so we actually had 2 athletes that had B qualifiers. So basically we were told that the winner of the trials would probably go. It was still sort of a discretionary selection. But so I won the trials. I wasn't the favourite. I wasn't the fastest on times, and I don't believe I'd won the majority of races between myself and this other girl. And I came out and ran a personal best and won the trials, and then sort of got selected within, I think it was the next day.
Oh, wow.
So,
and as you say, it's about what's meant to be will happen, and running a personal best and getting into the Olympics was meant to be for you. It was meant to be part of your journey.
Yeah.
Oh, I love
it was
that.
very nerve-wracking.
Yeah, I can imagine just like you're at the starting block waiting for the gun or the beep, I don't know,
Yep.
to go off, and then having your mind fully focused and fully just in the moment of this is all that matters right now, and just to give it your absolute all is so inspiring. It's so cool.
And then I actually false started.
No.
The rules, so now the rules are you cannot false start. But back then the rules were different, and everyone in the race everyone could false start once, but if you did it a second time, then you were disqualified. And I wasn't particularly known for false starting. I was just, the nerves got to me.
Yeah.
So thankfully I was
Wow.
able to go back, recoup, focus again, and run my race.
Did you find that, this is a bit of a random question, but did you find that listening to music or anything in particular helped you focus more than perhaps something else?
Music, very much so.
Yeah.
I was big on visualization and sort of those kind of strategies, but music, absolutely. While you couldn't take it out onto the track with you, you could certainly warm up with it. And I had sort of three types of music that I used, and one was more of there was like a dancey type music that just had that faster beat. That's something to help pick my mood up if I was a little bit flat. Something which was a little bit more calmer, such as more instrumental type music, which would bring me down if I was a little bit too hyped. And then something sort of in the middle, just if I was in a good space to maintain it. So music, absolutely, and still does. Like even
Yes.
to today, I find music is so important in mood.
Yes, it's true. Like even, if you start your day with an upbeat song whilst you, I don't know, unpack the dishwasher or have your breakfast or just something to help you jump out of bed and start your day in the right mindset, that has a huge impact on how the rest of your day goes, as opposed to waking up on the wrong side of the bed and then struggling through things that normally wouldn't impact you or frustrate you, but it just can really irritate you.
Yeah.
So I love that you were able to find something like the three different types of music to be able to impact your behavior so that you could give the best result possible.
Yeah.
Oh, so good. I love it. I feel like I could just sit here and just be wide-eyed in wonder about your journey, because I think it's so important to just highlight and really talk about something that's just so incredibly, like, not everyone will be an Olympian. Not everyone will get to that level. But that's something that you said earlier, through the sacrifice and through the challenges that you had to overcome to get to that position, to get to that place where you could represent your country at the Olympics. Like, huge round of applause for you. I think it's just so inspiring, and I just so appreciate that you're sharing this part of your journey with us, because it's not something that everyone will get to experience or be able to talk to someone about. So yeah, thank you so much for sharing that. So turning this conversation back into candles, when you first started your business, what was the process like?
It was slow, and I think it still is slow, and I almost feel it needs to be slow. So when I decided to get into candle making as a business and sort of beyond the hobby side of it, the goal for me was to eventually move outside of massaging, because my body I can't do it forever. So I've given myself time to get to that point where, like, it doesn't have to be a sustainable or profitable business where I can actually take an income from it right now, but down the track. And I need to sort of sometimes remember that, rather than jump to, oh no, I get really excited and, oh, it should be making more money now. I just have to take that step back. But really, a lot of it was testing. And I guess every candle maker knows it's testing. It was exciting because I get all the different fragrances and trial them all and get to sort of burn them and see which ones I liked and which ones I didn't. So, and then it probably took me 6 months to get to a point of actually building a website and going online. And that was very nerve-wracking. It feels like you're putting yourself out there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know how to explain it, but it's vulnerable. It feels very vulnerable.
Mm-hmm.
What if people don't like it? And what if this and what if that? So, but
and a lot of those thoughts can be enough of a barrier for people to stop in their tracks rather than to push through that and to work through that. So many candle makers I speak to are in the send me a DM or send me an email to place an order. And it's not even just the financial investment of building a website or having a website developed, but it's I don't know if my products are good enough to go to that next level. And you'll never know unless you try, because you're potentially missing out on sales if you don't have a website to take your customer through that journey. So I can totally appreciate that it does feel vulnerable. It does feel nerve-wracking, because you're putting yourself out there. It's something creative that is so personal to you. And you're basically saying to the world, is this good enough? Is it worth your hard-earned money to buy my product? And to do that and then to tweak it as you go and to learn as you grow is just all part of the process.
Yeah. And what I'm learning and sort of discovering is it's not necessarily like your sales aren't necessarily about your product. It's about how you market and how you put yourself out there and that consistency, and which is where I've been struggling. And like, we can make good products. Like, our products can be amazing, but if nobody knows about it, then we'll start to take that on as, oh, it's a terrible product. It's like, well, no, it's just nobody knows about it. So,
But it's true, because if you're creating an amazing product and then not marketing yourself, whether that's actually going to markets or contacting potential wholesale customers or promoting yourself on social media or investing in paid ads, if you're not doing any of that and no one knows about your product, it's not a reflection on your actual product. It's a reflection on you and what you're willing to put into the business to make it work.
Yeah.
Yeah. So far, tell us about what your biggest win has been in your business.
The launching, like just putting it out there and taking that step, and just, yeah, that one's a tricky one.
It is.
A really tricky one. Yeah, I think it's just the stepping outside of it's probably more personal, I guess, in my sense, is that stepping outside of my comfort zone, pushing past my perfectionism, which I think has come across from my athletic background, which stops me before I do a lot of things. So for me, then taking those steps of launching a business, joining a course, or doing all that, making those sales, I think for me has been the biggest win. It's still, as I said, for me, it's a developing business. So I'm not sort of at that point. I haven't sort of reached those points of hitting those big goals that sort of I've set. So it's just, I guess, acknowledging those small wins for me at the moment.
About progress over perfection, which is so hard at times, because we do, and particularly you, especially with your athletic background, as you say, like it's either 100 or nothing, it's perfect or nothing, and it's black or it's white. But really, it's about the journey. It's not just about the end result that we can get so caught up on focusing on. Whereas if we just, as you became an Olympian, just put that one foot in front of the other, just take that next right step and do that consistently, over time, you do get to where you want to go, and you can end up surprising yourself with the results.
Yeah.
When thinking about running your business and being a mum and being a busy employee as well, how do you get everything done?
Sometimes I don't.
That's the truth.
And this is where my challenges are at the moment. Like the marketing side of the business is what I need to develop. That's sort of that's not the comfort space for me at the moment, but it's something I need to learn and do. So it's a matter of building up. But I read some books years ago by an Australian woman called Brooke McAlary, and she often talked about tilting rather than balance, and I really quite liked it. And it's we can't necessarily achieve balance. Like, you can't balance your family and work and business all equally at the same time. It's just not possible, and that's where you sort of end up potentially in burnout or overwhelm. And I liked the idea of tilting, and sometimes you will tilt more into your family and your business is just a little bit sort of lighter in terms of time allocated, and then you might tilt more into your business if, say, you've got a launch coming up or a big order or something like that, and the family sort of, it's just a little bit less. So I do quite like that concept of tilting rather than balance.
Yeah, that's actually a perfect way of describing how to manage the different parts of life, but do it in a holistic and respectful way for all the different parts, rather than going all in on one aspect and giving nothing to another. It's finding that perfect tilt or that ideal tilt, rather than this perfect balance of trying to manage everything equally. Because, as you say, like, it can't be done. If you're running yourself into the ground, people miss out on spending time with you. It becomes this chase to become the best at everything, when really it's about, as you say, leaning into the different aspects as they're required and as you can.
Yeah, and the tilt won't be forever. It'll just be a period of time, and then you'll tilt back the other way, and sort of depending on what is demanding your time.
Yes, definitely. When you start your candle business, there are so many things to consider and research along the way, especially when it comes to choosing the right suppliers. Long Story Short provides all your design and printing needs, from your logo and branding to designing and printing your product labels. The quality is exceptional, the customer service is amazing, and prices are very reasonable. They're the only label company I recommend, so check out their website or send them an email today to get started. hello@longstoryshortdesign.com.au. So are there any challenges that you faced when you first started your candle business? Like, for example, did you find that the process was overwhelming, or did you sort of know where you wanted to head and end up?
I think the creative side of it, I really embraced and really enjoyed. Like, that's the side I get the most out of. And that's including the testing phase of trying to find which jars I want, and wicks and wax and all of that sort of creative side I really quite like. For me, it's the business side that I really struggle with. And it's learning that sort of, yes, it's good to decide you want to have a business and a candle business at that, but you also need to understand that it's not just making candles. If you want a sustainable business, there's more to it than that. And you've got to learn those aspects. So for me, it's social media. Social media is not it's not a comfortable place for me. I'm not on there all that much. And so that's a bit of a stretch for me, and I've got to sort of get into that a bit more.
Tilt towards it a little bit more.
Yeah, I do have to tilt a bit more. So it's probably more like the creative side is really good, the admin side is okay, and the marketing and social media stuff I really need to work on.
That's the thing. There are different parts of business that we are naturally more skilled at, and there are parts that we need to learn and grow into. And that just happens to be your area where you need to learn a little bit more or spend a bit more time investing that growth. But it's all possible. It's all doable. It's just a matter of working through those mindset challenges that come up that try and keep you in your comfort zone, rather than doing what the other half of you knows is to keep going and to keep pushing through. And sometimes it could be that constant battle of, what do I do now? And am I good enough? And is this going to work? And, you know what? I'm just going to go and scroll social media or watch TV because it's all too hard. So, and then we pacify ourselves and we soothe ourselves in that way, rather than pushing through and getting to the other side of that next level version of ourselves. So, yeah, I can appreciate that that's a challenge that you have. And it's the challenge that many candle makers do have, and I presume many business owners in general, because you can spend your time in the creativity zone where you're comfortable, where it feels the most safe. But then, as you say, if you're not going to build your business, it won't be sustainable long term, and it'll just be an expensive hobby.
Yeah, very much so. I like, what is it they say, that you're only as strong as your weakest link. And so I find that, yeah, you've got to spend time on those areas that you're not strong at, so that you have a better business. Like, it's easy to go, I just wish I could make more money so that I could hire someone to do that. But as the business owner, you still need to be over all aspects of your business. So rather than sort of just pushing that onto someone else, you still kind of need to know what's going on. So there's benefits to learning those areas that you don't like. And as your business does develop, yes, you might be able to put those onto someone else, but you still need to touch base and know what's going on within your business.
That is such important words, because when you are aware of how the different aspects of your business operate, that's how you can improve and streamline processes as well. Whether you're doing something or you've outsourced the task to someone else, you still need to be across the marketing, the social media, the finance side as well is a huge part of it. The actual creation of the products and all the testing as well. There's so many different aspects to build a successful business, but it also depends on what your definition of success is. So my next question for you is, how would you define success?
Success, I think, is about, for me, it's across a number of different avenues, I guess. So one is, eventually I would like a sustainable business that it can build and develop and grow. But for me, that success also has to be enjoyable. I don't want a business just for the sake of business. So I started this for a bit, like, for mental health, and so, like, creativity is grounding for me. So I still need a business that is that for me. And so for me, a successful business is one that is sustainable, but also I'm entrenched in it.
Yeah, that's so important, because we can get lost and caught up in I just want to be making more money. I need to pay my bills. I need to be doing ABC. But if you're not enjoying the journey along the way, then just go get a job. Running a business is so hard at times. And if you're not enjoying, majority of it most of the time, there will be times where it will be, well, it's supposed to be challenging as well. But if you're not enjoying most of it most of the time, then you have to really question whether you're on the right path and whether it's a candle business or a different business, whether it's the right path for you. And we can go through seasons and phases with our business as well. I mean, not every season is summer and spring. Like we can't always be, rolling in the sales and making lots of money. It's about those downtimes as well and learning and growing and getting back to a place where we can make our business profitable. So I love your definition of success. And I love asking that question to my guests because everyone has such a different answer, but it also ties in with themselves and how they feel along the journey. So yeah, I love that. That's a really beautiful answer.
For me, it is very like being an athlete and running a business are very, very similar in the sense that being an athlete, you still have to enjoy it. Like training is hard and there's days that you have to go out and you've got to train in the rain and the cold and the wind and it's just a tough session or something like that. And you don't necessarily enjoy it, but it's not just about the wins. It's not just about the medals or the teams, or you have to enjoy the process. Otherwise there's no point doing it. And so the same business, like there's going to be tough times, but you've got to enjoy the process. Otherwise, what's the point?
Yes, absolutely. I'm sitting here nodding, which obviously the listeners can't see, but I totally agree with what you're saying because it's crucial that you're able to take those moments that you experience day to day or week to week and go, wow, like I'm so grateful for this journey that I'm on. I'm so blessed to be able to be running a candle business, to be able to go through the testing phase. And yes, that's challenging at times, but if you can pull out those moments of enjoyment along the way, it makes all the hard times worth it. And it makes when you get to the end of your life, and hopefully we all live a long, happy life and look back, we can think and go, I enjoyed the journey. It had its ups and its downs, but it was worth every part of that journey.
Yep.
So as I mentioned at the start of this episode, you were one of my students in the latest round of Candlecraft, which is actually just wrapped up, or last week it just wrapped up. But I wanted to ask you a few questions about your experience and just love for you to share your thoughts as well.
Yep.
So when you first saw Candlecraft or when you first saw the course online, what did you think? And what were your initial thoughts?
Well, I thought it was really good. And it was definitely something I wanted to be a part of. And I do recall seeing the first round that had gone through. And again, it was just, I just don't have the time. And I don't have the funds right now to do this. And then I saw it pop up the second time and I went through the same process of, I don't know if I have the time to commit and all that kind of stuff. And I signed up. I think it was the very last day that it was available. And I just decided, I bit the bullet and committed.
I love that. That's so good because from my perspective, like when I advertise the course, like I have it open for a week. And so I'm on this like huge emotional roller coaster of, will people join? And when they do, like to guide them through that process. And then on the last day, you sort of think, okay, that's it. I know who's in the group now. I've still got a few hours left to go of the course being open, but for the most part, like I know who's in. Yep. And then here comes Debbi just sliding on in before the finish line. And I thought, oh, this is perfect. So no, I love that. It was it was definitely a lot of fun. That experience. Now, were you specifically looking for a candle course or just a business course to help you grow, or was it something that you just saw on socials and it became part of your world?
Look, I think it was definitely the business side of it, knowing that I wanted to grow my business, but the fact that it was candle specific and it was candle business specific was unlike anything that I'd seen before. So it definitely hit on an area that I felt like I needed. While I could have done other business courses, it wasn't going to be candle specific. And the fact that this was I think that tipping point for me to hit sort of click and join up.
Yes, it tilted you into signing up. I know I keep referencing that, but I just love it. I love the analogy of tilt and balance and giving that give and take in the ebb and flow of life. So I love that. So it's the last day of Cart Open and you're clicking sign up.
Yep.
What was it like? Why did you decide to sign up then and not wait for the next round?
I think it was just more, rather than sort of sitting on that sideline and sort of not making that commitment is easy to do. I see a lot of things and go, oh yeah, that'd be really good, and that'd be really good. Oh, I'll do it next time. And it was just more no, I've just got to commit. I want my business to get better. I'm at this point and I need that something else to sort of get me through. Like, there's only so much sort of Google searching that you can do on your own and all that. So the fact that everything would have been together, one, would have saved me a lot of time that I'd already established I didn't have much of anyway. So it sort of made sense to jump on and do that.
It's so important to really think through your thoughts and actions when you're about to make a decision and why something is important, as opposed to putting it off or deciding that it's not right for you. And I always say that it's about, listening to the butterflies, listening to the nudges, and just going with what feels right and figuring the rest out later. The universe will always catch you, right? Like, you'll always be able to be protected and safe in whatever path you go down. But it's about pushing yourself outside your comfort zone, trying new things, and the results that you can get, or the places you can end up, can be so unexpected but so beautiful as well, and you won't know unless you try. So I'm so glad that you joined the course, and we spent the last 6 weeks together, because it was an incredible journey to go through. And I feel like when you do something with other people and you have that accountability, that's where you can find that missing link that you didn't know you need, or maybe knew that you needed, but then you find that community, and that's where the difference can be.
Accountability is huge, and I think it is for everything. That knowing that other people are sort of either on the journey with you or waiting for you to do take a step or move forward, then I think it urges us to do it more than just ourselves. And obviously that depends on each individual. There are other people who are more driven by themselves. I don't think I'm one of those people, so I certainly needed the accountability.
But it's so interesting, because you would think, okay, an Olympian needs to be driven by someone outside of herself. Like, you would think that you've got that inner drive, but I suppose it's a different avenue perhaps, and different mindset hurdles as well. But then you also had a coach during the Olympian journey as well. So
yes, yeah. So I had a coach that I would turn up and I would do the sessions with, and I had training partners, and so similar type of thing, like signing up to a course. The person doing the course, such as you, would be the coach, and then the other participants are like the training partners, and that's what sort of helps you. Like, training on your own as an athlete is really difficult. Sort of that, getting that mindset up all the time, it's quite challenging. So having people around you actually certainly helps you work better, turn up, and do all that. So it's a lot of similarities.
Yeah, no, I love the similarities. I think it's so important to look at it in that perspective, because it's a marathon, not a sprint, and other analogies like that too. But I think it's so fascinating when and I've noticed this with the students that are in Candlecraft, both this round and the previous round. Once you've got that accountability, and I've always said I'm community and collaboration over competition. But when you're with other candle makers in this example, you're motivated by each other, but not in a I have to do better than you way. It's more of a I'm so impressed by your results and your action that I also want to take action and lift myself up to that level as well. And that's what accountability is all about. It's about finding, either a buddy or a partner or a team that can help support you and nurture you and celebrate you when you have those wins.
Yeah. When I was an athlete, I recall being asked by the media once who my role models were as athletes, and they expected me to say the top athletes at the time or sort of the best in the world, and that actually wasn't my answer. My answer was actually the athletes that I trained with, because I got to see them in the grind. I got to see them do the work and what they went through alongside me to get to their goals, rather than just seeing the result of someone else. So I guess in another way, it's sort of similar to a business where you can look up to sort of the big businesses and sort of go, I want to be there, but it's those people who are sort of working alongside you and at that same level, you see what they go through. I think that tends to push you more in your journey because it's tangible. It's like you look at the big businesses and you go, oh, I'm so far away from that. How am I ever going to bridge that gap? But the people that are around you, or maybe a step or two ahead, that's what I find the better role models to look at, because you can sort of go, okay, well, if I just do that, if I can do like get to their level, then that's a step, and then another step and another step. So
yeah, as you say, it's tangible, it's more possible, and you can see it happening for you rather than comparing yourself to the big businesses or the big athletes and think one day I'll get there, but there's this grey area of I don't actually quite know how to make that work. But if you're inspired by those around you and you surround yourself with inspiring people, then that will help uplift you and motivate you when you're having those challenging times.
Yeah.
So what was the most beneficial aspect of Candlecraft? What did you find really benefited you?
For me, it was so quite early on in the course, but for me, it was sort of working out my why. So when I'd started my business, I feel like I jumped many steps. I went from deciding I wanted to have a candle business to, yes, I did some testing and all that, but then I created my website, started selling candles. But I missed those steps of establishing my why and maybe my mission statement and all those sort of, I think, fundamental elements that you need in a business for it to be sustainable long term. Like I think without that foundation of understanding that once it starts to get hard, your business will just go, oh, I just won't worry anymore, or this is too hard. So, but I think with that base understanding of this is why I've started it, this is what I want to do, and this is the purpose of my business, I think it's probably an element that so many people sort of miss in that journey to set up their business. And so for me, it was delving into that why that I found sort of the most beneficial.
And it can be so hard to go deep in your thoughts as to why you are doing a particular task or why you want to go down a particular path, because you have to really sit with yourself and sit in that space of, you know, what do I want to create for my life and why is this important? And thoughts of, you know, am I worthy of this, or will I make it? Will I find success or will I fail? They're big questions that you need to contemplate, and to be able to find a space to be able to ask those questions in a safe environment and share your thoughts and be able to get feedback is something we cover straight away in week 1 because it's just so important.
Yeah, and it's uncomfortable. So I guess sort of being in that environment where there are others doing the same thing and on that same path, that we're all kind of sitting in that uncomfortable space together, so you can kind of help each other out and sort of come through the other side.
Yes, as a team, as opposed to doing it solo. Yeah. So what would you say to anyone sitting on the fence or considering signing up for the next round of Candlecraft?
Don't wait. I was using the excuse of no time and not enough money, but they're excuses, really. And you find the time, and a lot of it you can, like, it doesn't actually carve too much time out of your week. So it's definitely worthwhile doing. And it just definitely gives you direction for your business. Like if you feel like there's no direction or you're not quite there yet, I think it's a good way to start and then sort of go through the rest of the course from there.
Couldn't have said that better myself. So we've come to one of my favorite parts of the podcast, where I ask all my guests 3 questions relating to candles. Number 1, what is your favorite candle fragrance?
As everyone else has said, this is really difficult. My business started, so prior to me starting my business, coconut lime was my favorite. I always bought coconut lime. It was my staple. And so when I started my business, that was the first one to go in. But since then, it chops and changes. And at the moment, I've got a fragrance called Daintree and Driftwood, which I really, really like. It's just an earthy fragrance that's also really fresh. And yeah, I quite like that one at the moment.
That's beautiful. I like how you can pivot with what you're in the mood for. It's so true, because if you're feeling, you know, if it's a rainy and cold day outside, you want to light a nice cozy candle. But if it's a nice summer or spring breeze, you want to light something a bit more refreshing, like a coconut or lime. Yeah. So Yeah, it makes sense to be able to pivot your favorites. Question number 2, what do you love about candles?
I love that a candle can change the mood of a room. I love that they're actually more than just a fragrance. I find it more multi-sensory. So with my candles, I use wood wicks. And so I love that there's the smell of the candle, there's the light of the candle, and then the crackle of a candle. So, yeah.
Beautiful. And then number 3, what is one piece of advice you'd like to give to other candle makers during their journey?
I think it's more just that there will be highs and lows, and you need both, and that you have to take the lessons from the lows, so learn from them. Don't just think of it as, oh, that failed, or this didn't work. It's every failure, it's a lesson to learn from, but also celebrate the highs. Like sometimes you go through periods where they don't come through very often. And so I think by celebrating the highs, that's what keeps your passion going, and it's what sort of fuels you, and sort of that celebration. So when you get into a low, you'll know that there's a high coming, because it ebbs and flows.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, I'm sitting here nodding. I'm agreeing with everything you're saying. Debbi, thank you so, so much from the bottom of my heart for being on the podcast and sharing your wisdom, your joy, your knowledge, your inspiration, and just everything that you are is just, I've said this before, but I find you completely inspirational. And I think what you have done, not only for yourself, your family, and your community, but representing our country and living in your truth and in your alignment is truly inspirational. I know I've said that several times, but I just wanted to say a huge thank you for being part of the podcast and sharing your journey. For the listeners that want to connect in with you, where can we find you online?
So I'm on Instagram and Facebook at Lane3 Designs, and that's the word 3, not the number 3, and website lane3designs.com.au. I am on TikTok, but I don't use it very well. So that's going to be one of my paths. But yeah, mostly through Instagram and Facebook.
Perfect. So I'll pop your links in the show notes so people can connect in with you. If they would like to say hello or say, congrats on being Olympian, I would love the messages to come through. So everyone that's listening, go send Debbi a message. That would mean the world to us both. And yeah, once again, thank you so much for being part of the podcast.
Thank you so much, Kirsty.
Thanks everyone for listening today. I hope this episode added value to your candle making journey. Check out the show notes for all the links mentioned throughout today's show, and please subscribe to the podcast so you don't miss any future episodes. Thanks again for listening. Have a beautiful day.